Other men find me irresistible. My girlfriend smirked. I canceled 6 cards, 3 bills, and 1 lease. Now she's broke, and begs me for help. My girlfriend told me to step my game up. So I erased her entire lifestyle in 72 hours and watched her crumble without me. I was with one ex for 4 years and wanted to marry her. One night out with friends, I noticed her making out with another guy in a car at a red light. 3 days later, I informed her I was going to see my brother. He never specified where he lived, only that he lived in another state. That happened 30 years ago, and she still does not know where I reside. She has been married and divorced thrice since then. She married the man she cheated on me with, and then cheated on him as well. I've been happily married for 22 years. This is a distinct comment. This guy saw his girl cheating 30 years ago, and instead of making a huge deal about it or attempting to work it out, he simply fled. Clean break. There was no drama, begging, or, let's talk about this. Just gone. Look at the findings. She's been married twice and apparently hasn't learned her lesson, as she also cheated on the guy she left for. Meanwhile, he has been happily married for 22 years. 22 years. This is something we frequently discuss. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. This guy didn't need multiple chances or second chances to realize she wasn't bride material. He recognized what he needed to see and made his decision. The fact that she still doesn't know where he lives 30 years later demonstrates a strong dedication to moving forward. This is how you handle betrayal, gentlemen. Clean, decisive, and permanent. If you have any stories like these, please share them in the comments. I'll include them in my forthcoming videos. Now let's begin the story. She responded, I can't help it if other men find me irresistible. Maybe you should step your game up. When I witnessed her offer her phone number to a random guy, I remarked, you're right. The next day her name was removed from everything I paid for. Her belongings were packed, and her tea did not function. She called me 23 times in one day. I'm 34 years old and male, and Brianna, my now ex-girlfriend of 3 years, said I needed to raise my game. So I stepped it up. All right. She just didn't expect it to happen this way. Saturday night, we went to Copper Mill, a fashionable bar downtown, to celebrate her buddy Chloe's promotion. The place was packed. A typical weekend crowd, with decent music and plentiful beverages. Brianna looked stunning in her red dress, which cost more than most people's rent. She always dressed to impress. Around 10 p.m., I was talking to a guy about sports when I observed Brianna at the bar with another guy. Tall man, expensive outfit, maybe mid-30s, looked like he stepped out of a magazine. There's nothing odd there. Brianna caught attention everywhere we went. Part of dating someone that resembled her. But then I noticed her laughing at something he said, leaning in closer and taking out her phone. She typed something in, passed it to him, and he typed back. They both put their phones away, and she patted his arm again, laughing. I strolled over, as casual as possible. When the guy noticed me approaching, he quickly disappeared. That was a smart move. What was that about? I inquired, maintaining my voice level. Brianna turned around with a smug expression. Oh, that? Some guy wanted my number, so I gave it to him. You gave him your number? I asked. She shrugged as if it was nothing. I can't help it if other men find me irresistible, Albert. Maybe you should step your game up. The way she said it was condescending and entitled, as if I should be grateful she even bothered with me. Chloe and 2 other friends were observing the entire exchange. Some appeared embarrassed, while others tried not to smile. You're right, I replied. I should definitely step my game up. She smiled, supposing she had won something. Good. I'm glad you finally got it. I grabbed my jacket and walked to the door. Brianna called after me, asking where I was going, but I just continued walking. She'd find out quickly enough. Update 1. The next day, Sunday morning, I awoke with a sharp focus. It's time to amp up my game, as Brianna recommended. The first thing I did was assess our living circumstances. My flat, my contract, and my name solely. Brianna had moved in around 18 months ago but kept putting off signing the lease. Said there was too much paperwork. Her loss. But here's the deal. Even though she wasn't on the lease, she had tenant rights after staying there for long enough. We couldn't just kick her out legally. That would require several weeks of sufficient warning, so I got inventive. Begin with the financial support system. Brianna's automobile lease was in her name, but I had been making the payments for the past year because she said money was tight. I called the lease business and informed that I was no longer making payments on her behalf, effective immediately. They stated that they would contact the primary leaser regarding payment arrangements. The phone came next. She was on my family plan, which saved her approximately $60 per month. I called the carrier and said that I needed to remove a line from my account. They indicated it would take effect at the end of the current billing cycle, in 3 days. Car insurance came next. She was listed as a driver on my policy, but her automobile was not protected. She has her own protocol for this. I immediately removed her as an approved driver from my insurance. Next came the credit cards. She had added user cards to 2 of my accounts for emergencies and convenience. Call both banks, withdraw her authorization, and cancel the physical cards. They stated that the cards would stop operating after 24 hours. Gym membership. The same story. She utilized my family membership package. I called and terminated her access immediately. The apartment was difficult because she had tenant rights. I couldn't change the locks or remove her belongings without a proper legal process, but I could begin planning. Went to a storage facility, hired a unit for 6 months, and paid in advance. Then I got down and wrote her a letter informing her that our relationship was finished, that I would no longer be funding any aspect of her lifestyle, and that she had 30 days to make other living arrangements, as required by law. Professional, courteous, and legally acceptable. She left the letter on the kitchen counter, where she would find it when she returned home from wherever she had gone after the bar. Update 2. Brianna arrived home around 7 p.m. on Sunday, still wearing her outfit from the night before and looking slightly hungover. I was sitting in the living room reading. When she walked in, she noticed the note, took it up and read it. Her face changed into roughly 5 different expressions: confusion, fury, disbelief, panic, then back to anger. "Albert, what's this?" she screamed, waving the letter. "It's a 30-day notice to vacate," I explained calmly. "Also, notice that I'm no longer covering any of your expenses, effective immediately." "You can't be serious." "Dead serious, Brianna. You told me to step my game up last night, so I did some evaluation. Turns out I was subsidizing someone who gives her number to random men and tells me I'm not good enough." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." "That's exactly what you meant, Brianna. You made it clear other men are more interesting than me. So go be irresistible on someone else's dime." She used her credit card to purchase meal delivery an hour later. Declined. I tried the second option. The same result. That's when the first round of frantic calls began. "Albert, my cards aren't working," she stated as I responded. "That's correct, Brianna. You're no longer an authorized user on my accounts." "How am I supposed to eat? How am I supposed to function?" "The same way adults function, Brianna. Use your own money, your own cards, your own resources." She hung up and tried ringing back immediately. I forwarded it to voicemail. Update 3. 2 days later. Monday morning was when reality set in. Brianna's automobile payment was due, and the leasing firm called her immediately to inquire about payment options. She approached me in a hurry. "Albert, they're saying if I don't make the payment by Wednesday, they'll start repossession proceedings." "Sounds like you should make the payment then, Brianna." "With what money? You know I don't have that kind of cash saved up." "That's a budgeting problem, Brianna, not a me problem. You've been paying it for a year. You can't just stop." "Actually I can, Brianna. Watch me." She spent Monday frantically calling people, attempting to borrow money. Chloe apparently provided her enough money to fulfill the car payment, but made it obvious that it was a one-time transaction. Tuesday, her phone service was suspended. She tried to call me from Chloe's phone. "Albert, my phone doesn't work," she stated. "That's because you're no longer on my plan, Brianna. You'll need to get your own service." "How am I supposed to get my own service without money?" "Figure it out, Brianna. You're irresistible, remember? Maybe one of your admirers can help." Wednesday, she took a different strategy. I arrived at my office during lunchtime. Security called and said there was a woman in the lobby seeking to see me. I went downstairs and saw Brianna looking worried and desperate. "Albert, please," she pleaded. "I can't afford all this stuff on my own. You know that." "Then you shouldn't have told me to step my game up, Brianna. This is what stepping my game up looks like." "I'm sorry about Saturday night. I was drunk. I was being stupid." "You were being honest, Brianna. For the first time in our relationship, you told me exactly what you thought of me." "That's not true. You told me other men find you irresistible, and I should step my game up." Mission accomplished. I walked back to my office, leaving her standing in the lobby. Update 4. A week after. Brianna was staying with Chloe at the end of the first week, depleting her savings in order to sustain her lifestyle. The cancellation of her gym membership affected her hard. She had been going there every day, mainly to see and be seen. Chloe called me Thursday night, clearly frustrated. Albert, this is getting ridiculous. Brianna is driving me crazy. She won't look for her own place. Just keep talking about how to fix things with you. There's nothing to fix, Chloe. She told me exactly what she thought of me Saturday night. She made one stupid comment. Albert, you're destroying her entire life over it. I'm not destroying anything, Chloe. I'm just no longer subsidizing it. There's a difference. You're being vindictive. I'm being logical, Chloe. Why would I financially support someone who thinks other men are more irresistible than me? Brianna attempted to enter the apartment building on Friday but was turned away by the front desk. They contacted and stated someone had requested admission, claiming to live there. She's not on the lease, I informed them. She's a guest who's been staying here but she's moving out. Don't let her up without my explicit permission. The weekend passed quietly, but Monday brought a new degree of desperation. Brianna's mother, Diane, contacted me immediately. Albert, she added, this is getting out of hand. Brianna is falling apart. You need to work this out. Diane, with respect. Your daughter told me other men find her irresistible and I should step my game up. I stepped my game up by stepping away. She made a mistake, Albert. Everyone makes mistakes. Some mistakes have bigger consequences than others, Diane. This is one of them. You're being cruel. I'm being consistent, Diane. I don't subsidize people who give their numbers to random men. Update 5. 2 weeks later. Brianna's 30-day notice period was half done, and she had yet to make any significant progress toward finding her own house. She was bouncing between Chloe's couch and a few other friends, but she was overstaying her welcome everywhere. She tried one last desperate ruse. She arrived at the apartment complex with a locksmith, stating she had lost her key and needed to get in. Smart Building Management contacted me initially. Sir, there's a woman here with a locksmith saying she needs access to your apartment. Don't let them in, I instructed. She doesn't live here anymore, and I haven't authorized any locksmith services. The locksmith supposedly told Brianna that he couldn't work without the property owner's permission and left. She called me right away, screaming, Albert, that was my stuff in there. I have a right to it. You have a right to collect your belongings during reasonable hours with advance notice, Brianna. You don't have a right to bring locksmiths to my apartment. I need my things now. Send me a text with a date and time that works for you, Brianna. I'll be present while you collect your belongings, and then you can move on with your irresistible life. She hung up but texted me an hour later, asking if I might come by Wednesday evening. I agreed. Wednesday she arrived with Chloe and a little moving truck. It took them 3 hours to pack her belongings. I kept an eye out to see that nothing of mine went missing, but otherwise I stayed out of their way. Brianna stood in the empty bedroom, stunned that it was actually occurring. Albert, she spoke quietly. This doesn't have to be the end. We can work through this. You told me to step my game up, Brianna. This is what that looks like. Find someone who thinks you're worth competing for. Chloe drove away with Brianna and all her belongings. I changed the locks that night, just to be safe. 1 month later, this is the final update. It's been a month since I upped my game, and the results have been phenomenal. Not only in my life, but also in Brianna's perception of how the world actually works. She found a studio apartment across town, but she needed her parents to co-sign because her credit wasn't good enough on its own. I heard from Chloe that she's working extra hours to offset all the bills she didn't understand I was covering. Car payments, phone bills, insurance, gym memberships and streaming services all pile up when you pay for them yourself. It turns out that being appealing does not cover the cost of living. She attempted to contact her a few times through mutual acquaintances, always sending messages about how sorry she was, how she'd learned her lesson, and how she wanted another opportunity. My response was usually the same. She received everything she asked for. The lovely irony is that Saturday night's comment was intended to push me to work harder, compete for her attention, and demonstrate my worth to her. Instead, it inspired me to recognize my worth and cease subsidizing someone who did not value it. Chloe stopped attempting to mediate after understanding Brianna wasn't looking for solutions, but rather someone to solve her problems for her. Even her closest friends grew tired of her incessant moaning about how pricey everything was. Last week I noticed her at the grocery store, using coupons, looking worried, and counting goods in her cart. She noticed me and waved tentatively. I nodded nicely and continued shopping. There was no drama, simply two people who had previously known each other. By the way, the guy from Saturday night did not phone her. Chloe claimed that he was married and was only gathering numbers for enjoyment. Brianna sat by her phone for days awaiting a text that never arrived, while I was busy upping my game by withdrawing financial assistance from someone who believed I wasn't good enough. She wanted me to compete harder, battle for her attention, and show how tempting she was. Instead, she discovered that some men do not compete. They simply walk away, leaving individuals to work out their own lives. The lesson here is simple. When someone encourages you to elevate your game, take them seriously. Stepping up your game may require you to distance yourself from people who do not value what you bring to their lives. Brianna is currently learning to be seductive on her own budget. Meanwhile, I raise my game in ways she never expected, by refusing to fund someone who believed other men were more intriguing than me. Sometimes the best retribution is simply ceasing what you were doing out of goodwill and allowing others to manage their own obligations.